He divorced me with a cold text message and emptied all of our bank accounts overnight. But what he didn't know was that I had just discovered his shocking 10-year secret addiction, and I wasn't going to stay silent. If you've ever felt betrayed by someone you trusted, this story is for you. Be sure to subscribe and let us know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm Marina Silva, 42 years old, a mother of 2 incredible kids, and a woman who spent her entire adult life believing in the dream of a stable, loving family. I built everything alongside Lucas, my husband, the man I trusted more than anyone in this world. For 15 years, we were that couple everyone admired. You know the kind, the ones who post perfect vacation photos, who hold hands at family events, who laugh together like they've figured life out. But behind those smiles, there was something else. I always believed Lucas was sincere. He was charismatic, attentive in public, and everyone adored him. But in the quiet of our home, there were moments when I felt like I was hugging a ghost. He became distant, cold, distracted. The man who once wrote me love letters now barely looked me in the eye, but I told myself all the things we tell ourselves to survive. He's just stressed with work. It's a phase. He still loves me. I clung to the image of our family, our shared memories, our plans for the future. Because who wants to admit that the person they built a life with might be slipping away or worse, hiding something? For years, I noticed subtle changes. His phone was always on silent, always face down. He started working late, traveling more. At first, I ignored it. I mean, don't we all? Who wants to become the paranoid spouse, constantly checking, doubting, questioning? But those gut feelings, the ones you try so hard to bury, they don't stay silent forever. Still, I kept going, showing up for my kids, excelling at work, pretending everything was fine. Because that's what strong women do, right? We endure. We carry the weight, hoping that love is enough, that the good times outweigh the bad. But deep down, I knew something was terribly wrong. Lucas would come home smelling of expensive cologne, wearing new clothes I'd never seen before. He'd make big purchases without telling me watches, gadgets, even investments. But when I asked, he always had an excuse. It's for the business. You wouldn't understand. Why are you always so suspicious? And I'd retreat, feeling guilty for even asking, because that's how it works. They make you question your own instincts, make you feel like you're the problem. What I didn't know then was that the man I thought I knew, the man I loved, was living a double life fueled by an insatiable lust, not for me, not for our family, but for power, for control, for pleasure bought in secrecy. Looking back now, I realize how much of myself I lost trying to hold on to a marriage that was already broken. I invested everything, my time, my energy, my love into a relationship that was never truly reciprocal. Lucas was always charming, always convincing, always one step ahead of my doubts. And I wanted so badly to believe him, because the alternative, the idea that my husband might be hiding something that could destroy our family, was just too painful to face. I remember standing in front of the mirror late at night, after the kids were asleep, wondering what I was doing wrong. Was I not enough? Was I too focused on work? Too tired to notice when he was pulling away? These questions haunted me for years, eating away at my self-esteem, my confidence, my joy. But here's the truth I want you to hear right now. Sometimes it's not about what you did or didn't do. Sometimes it's about them, their choices, their brokenness, their secret addictions they refused to confront. And in my case, Lucas was hiding a darkness that I couldn't have imagined in my worst nightmares at 42. After 15 years of what I thought was a solid marriage, I was about to find out just how much a person can hide and how much strength I had buried inside me, waiting for the moment I'd finally need it. If you're listening to this and you've ever doubted your instincts, ever felt that silent ache in your chest telling you something isn't right, please, don't ignore it. Trust me. I ignored it for too long, and what happened next shattered everything I believed about love, trust, and the life I thought I had built. But it also gave me something I never expected, the chance to rebuild not just my life, but myself. It happened. In the middle of the night, my phone buzzed beside the bed, waking me from a restless sleep. I rubbed my eyes, expecting some random notification. But instead, it was a message from Lucas, a simple, cold sentence that shattered my entire existence. We're divorced. The joint account is empty. Don't try to contact me. At first, I thought it was a mistake, some cruel joke. My fingers trembled. As I reread the words over and over, my mind refusing to believe that after 15 years together, this was how it ended. No conversation, no explanation, just abandonment. Executed with all the emotion of a bank transaction, I sat there, frozen. My heart pounding so hard I could hear it in my ears. My mind was racing. Where was he? Why? Would he do this? How could he empty everything we built, everything we saved, without even looking me in the eyes? And then the panic set in. I rushed to check our joint account, and it was true. Zero. Every penny we had worked for, gone. Our savings, the kids' college fund, the money we had put aside for emergencies, wiped clean. That's when the first wave hit me. Betrayal. But what followed, almost immediately, was something even more devastating: shame. How could I have been so blind? How did I not see this coming? The next hours were a blur of phone calls that went straight to voicemail, messages left unanswered, and pacing around the house like a trapped animal. I kept replaying the last few months in my head, trying to make sense of it all. The late nights, the secretive behavior, the missing money. But none of it prepared me for what I was about to uncover. In a desperate attempt to understand, I went through some of his things, old bank statements, emails, even his desk drawers. And slowly, horrifyingly, the truth began to emerge. Lucas had been living a double life for over a decade. Hidden beneath the facade of the perfect husband and father was a man consumed by addiction. Insatiable lust, not for me, not for our family, but for gambling and secret affairs. He had been frequenting underground casinos, online betting sites, and even escort services, pouring our family's money into his need for thrill, pleasure, and escape. 10 years. 10 years of lies, secrecy, and financial devastation that he somehow kept hidden from me. All while sitting across the dinner table, kissing me goodnight, and pretending to be the man I thought I married, and I didn't see it. That's what broke me the most. I prided myself on being intuitive, on knowing the man I shared my life with. But he was a master of masks, one face for the world, another for me, and yet another for his darkest desires. I realized then that this wasn't just about money. It wasn't just about a marriage ending in a text message. This was about years of manipulation, of me being gaslit into believing that everything was fine, when in reality, the man I loved was spiraling deeper and deeper into a world of deceit, lust, and self-destruction. That night, as I sat on the cold floor of our bedroom, surrounded by pieces of a life that no longer existed, I understood something that would change me forever. Love is not supposed to feel like this. Real love doesn't drain you, doesn't lie to you, doesn't rob you of your dignity, your security, your peace. If you're listening to this and you've ever felt that unsettling gut instinct, that quiet voice whispering that something isn't right, please, don't ignore it. I did. I silenced that voice for years because I was afraid of what I'd find. But the truth has a way of crashing down. No matter how high you build your walls. In those moments of pure shock and devastation, I realized I had two choices: be destroyed by the betrayal, or find out just how strong I really was. Looking back, now, the signs were all there. I just didn't want to see them. The late nights, the business trips that always seemed to come out of nowhere, the vague explanations about missing money, the excuses about helping a friend or investing in a project that never quite added up, but I ignored it. I convinced myself that I was overthinking, that Lucas was simply stressed with work, or tired, or distracted by responsibilities. I told myself that all marriages go through phases, that the distance I felt was normal. I didn't want to disturb the illusion of our perfect family, the successful husband, the loving wife, the two beautiful kids. We were the couple that everyone admired, the ones who had it all together. I couldn't face the possibility that it was all a lie. But after that text, after he wiped out everything we had, I couldn't ignore it anymore. I started digging, slowly, cautiously, terrified of what I might find, but needing to know the truth. It began with the credit card statements I had never bothered to look at closely before. Thousands and thousands of dollars spent at exclusive clubs, luxury hotels, and obscure payment processors that, when I Googled them, turned out to be online casinos and adult entertainment platforms. My heart sank. This wasn't just one bad decision. This was a life. A secret life he had built over years. A parallel existence I was never supposed to see. I found receipts from high-end casinos in cities he never told me he visited. Messages on his hidden email account arranging private poker games and other services. Photos too carelessly saved on a cloud drive he must have forgotten to delete. Pictures of him, drunk, draped over strangers in dimly lit VIP rooms. Women I had never seen before. Wearing designer dresses, laughing, clinging to him while I was home. Tucking our children into bed, waiting for a call that never came. Each discovery was like another knife twisting deeper into my chest. I couldn't breathe. I felt stupid. Humiliated. How had I lived with this man for 15 years and missed all of this? But at the same time, there was fear. What would happen to me, to the kids, to our future? Now that he had drained every cent we had and vanished without a trace, for days I kept it all to myself. I smiled through school pickups, answered emails at work, cooked dinner, while inside I was falling apart. I didn't want anyone to know. Not my parents, not my colleagues, not even my closest friends. I was ashamed not just of what Lucas had done, but of what it said about me, that I had allowed this, that I hadn't been enough to keep him faithful or happy or honest. But the pressure became unbearable. I couldn't sleep. I couldn't eat. My hands would shake uncontrollably at random moments. That's when I decided to see a therapist. I needed someone neutral, someone who wouldn't judge me or sugarcoat the truth. And in those sessions, I began to understand something I had never considered before. This wasn't about me. It wasn't about me not being enough. Lucas's addiction, because that's what it was, wasn't about love. It was about power, escape, control, and lust. An insatiable lust, not just for sex, but for status, for risk, for adrenaline. His endless need to feel superior, to feel alive, had consumed him completely. And in the process, it had consumed everything we had built together. My therapist explained to me the cycle of these kinds of addictions, the secrecy, the denial, the thrill, followed by the inevitable crash. And then I realized this wasn't going to stop, not unless I stopped it still. I hesitated. I didn't want to destroy whatever tiny chance there might be to repair our family. I didn't want to be the woman who exposed her husband's darkest secrets. I didn't want our kids to suffer more than they already would from the divorce. But then my best friend Sophia came over one evening. She saw right through me. She looked me in the eye and said, "Marina, you don't deserve this. You don't deserve to live in fear, in shame. You deserve truth, and you deserve justice." Her words broke something open inside me for so long. I had been protecting Lucas, covering for him, making excuses for his behavior, pretending to friends and family that everything was fine. But I wasn't fine, and he had made sure that I had. Nothing left. That night, I gathered all the evidence, the bank statements, the messages, the photos. I packed them in a folder, and the next morning, I went to confront him. But he wouldn't meet me. He ignored my calls, refused to reply to my messages. His lawyer sent me a cold email confirming that he had filed for divorce and advising me to communicate through legal channels only. I felt like I was screaming into a void, but I refused to be silenced. So I went to the police. I sat in that sterile, fluorescent-lit office and handed over everything. Every receipt, every message, every detail of how he had systematically drained our accounts, hidden his debts, and abandoned his responsibilities. The detective nodded grimly as I explained everything. I remember his exact words, "You did the right thing." It didn't feel like it at the time. It felt like I had just lit a match and thrown it onto the life I had spent 15 years building. But deep down, I knew Sophia was right. I deserved truth, and I deserved justice. The following weeks were a blur of legal battles, court hearings, and endless meetings with lawyers. The tension was unbearable, the fight for custody, the uncertainty about our financial future, the constant fear of what else I might uncover about Lucas's secret life. But through it all, I kept reminding myself of one thing. I wasn't the one who broke our family. He did, and I wasn't going to let his addiction, his selfishness, his lust, define me. Not anymore. The day of the court hearing felt like walking straight into a nightmare I couldn't wake up from. I sat there, in that cold, sterile courtroom, my heart pounding so violently that I thought it would explode. My hands clutched the folder of evidence tighter than ever, pages of our financial records, screenshots of Lucas's secret online accounts, photos of him in places I wasn't supposed to know about, with people I wasn't supposed to recognize. He sat across the room from me, wearing that same calm, smug expression he always wore when he thought he had one. For a moment, I almost faltered. What if they didn't believe me? What if all of this came crashing down and I was left humiliated, accused of being paranoid or vindictive? But then I remembered all the nights I stayed awake, terrified of what would happen to our children, of what would happen to me. I remembered the text he sent cold, emotionless, leaving me alone to pick up the shattered pieces of our life while he disappeared into his twisted world of luxury and lust. No, I wouldn't back down. Not now. The judge called my name, and I stood up, my knees shaking so hard I had to grip the edge of the table to steady myself. My lawyer gently guided me through the testimony, asking me to describe how I first discovered the missing funds, the hidden debts, the secret life Lucas had been living right under my nose for 10 years. I could feel everyone's eyes on me, our families, the attorneys, the judge. And Lucas, he smirked, as if none of it mattered, as if he was still in control. But when I pulled out the printed statements, the photos, the messages, his face changed. The color drained from his cheeks as the reality of the evidence sank. One by one, I laid it all bare, the thousands spent on online casinos, the exclusive private clubs, the luxury hotels in cities he claimed he had never even visited, The explicit messages exchanged with strangers, the arrangements for private games and services that went far beyond simple gambling. Gasps echoed from the seats behind me. His mother, his sister, friends we had known for years, all sitting there in stunned silence, unable to comprehend the man they thought they knew. Lucas tried to interrupt, to deny it, to claim that it was all a misunderstanding, a setup. But the evidence was irrefutable. The judge silenced him, reminding him that he had his chance to respond, but that the court was obligated to examine the facts, and the facts were clear. He had not only betrayed me emotionally, he had financially and psychologically devastated our entire family, putting our home, our children's future, and my own mental health at risk. All for his own selfish, reckless indulgences. The prosecutor described it as a calculated pattern of deception, one driven by a compulsive addiction to risk, power, and pleasure. I didn't want to cry. I had promised myself I wouldn't cry in front of him. Not after everything, but as I read aloud the last message, the one he had sent me. That night, we're divorced. The account is empty. Don't contact me. My voice cracked, and for the first time in months, I let the tears fall, not because I was broken, but because I was finally free. Lucas sat there, unable to look at me, as the judge declared that his actions constituted not only grounds for immediate divorce, but also warranted criminal investigation. For financial fraud and endangerment, the gavel came down, and with it, 15 years of my life with him ended in a single deafening moment. But I didn't feel defeated. I felt strong in that courtroom, surrounded by cold walls, and even colder stares. I realized something profound. Even in my most vulnerable, exposed, humiliated state, I had found my power. I had walked through hell, carrying not just my pain, but the responsibility of protecting my children, salvaging what I could of our future, and confronting a man who had built his life on lies. And I won, not because I destroyed him, but because I refused to let him destroy me. As I left the courtroom that day, I didn't look back. I didn't need to. The chapter was closed, and ahead of me, a new one waited to be written. After the court ruling, something inside me shifted forever. The divorce papers were signed. And although I couldn't recover all the money Lucas had stolen, I managed to reclaim enough to provide stability for my children and me. It wasn't just about the finances anymore. It was about reclaiming my dignity, my sense of safety, and my voice. The first days alone in our house felt eerily quiet, almost suffocating. I would sit in the living room, surrounded by memories that now felt foreign, family photos, gifts, and moments that, in hindsight, were all tainted by his lies. But I refused to let those objects define my future. So I sought therapy at first. I was terrified of opening up, of admitting just how deeply I had been hurt, not just by Lucas, but by myself, for ignoring the signs for so long. But my therapist helped me see that my love wasn't my weakness. My loyalty wasn't my failure. His betrayal was his choice, not my flaw. That realization changed everything. I began rebuilding my life piece by piece. I focused on my children, pouring into them the love and security they deserved, showing them through my actions that we could still be a family even stronger than before. I became more present, more emotionally available, and more honest about my own healing process. At the same time, I reached out to friends I had drifted from during my marriage, finding support in the women who, like me, had faced betrayal, secrets, and hidden addictions in their relationships. We created a circle of support where no one was judged and everyone was seen. For the first time in years, I didn't feel alone, and then something I never expected happened. Women started reaching out to me, asking how I had found the strength to leave, to speak up, to confront the person I once loved. That's when I realized my story wasn't just about survival. It was about helping others survive too. Now I share my experience openly, encouraging women to trust their instincts, to ask the hard questions, and to believe that they deserve truth and respect. I learned that healing isn't about erasing the past. It's about owning it and choosing to live fully despite it. And every single day, I remind myself I am not a victim of his addiction, his lies, or his betrayal. I am a survivor, a mother, a woman who refused to be broken. Looking back, I barely recognize the woman I used to be for years. I wore the mask of the perfect wife, the understanding partner, the silent supporter. I ignored the late nights, the financial discrepancies, the coldness in his eyes because I was afraid. Afraid of losing the life I thought we had built together, afraid of being alone, afraid of facing the truth. But when everything collapsed, divorce over a text message, the empty bank account, the years of secret addictions, I realized that staying silent had only prolonged my suffering. That was my turning point. I refused to be just another woman trapped in the cycle of lies and manipulation. living in the shadow of someone else's addictions, so I made a decision to confront reality, no matter how painful it was, and with each truth I uncovered, with every step I took away from the wreckage of my old life, I began to reclaim something. I had lost long ago my voice. I stopped asking myself, why did he do this to me? And started asking, what can I do now? For me, I realized that I was not defined by his betrayal, but by my response to it. The woman I became is stronger, wiser, and no longer afraid of standing alone now. I openly speak about the dangers of hidden addictions, the way lust, gambling, and the desperate pursuit of status can quietly destroy families from the inside out. Just like mine. I support women who, like me, have felt trapped by appearances, who have silenced their instincts. For the sake of keeping the peace, to them, I say what I wish someone had said to me. Facing the truth is painful, but living a lie is even worse. Today, I live with integrity, courage, and the fierce conviction that no one should sacrifice their happiness to maintain a FAC. My pain became my power, and my story became my mission. Because I know now, without any doubt, the first step to freedom is choosing yourself. And you. How much longer will you pretend that everything is fine? How many more silent nights will you spend staring at the ceiling, wondering if the life you're living is really yours, or just a carefully constructed lie? How many times will you silence your instincts, dismiss those gut feelings, just to maintain the illusion of normalcy? Listen to me. I know what it's like to live trapped by appearances, to keep smiling in public while breaking apart in private, to tell yourself it's not that bad, while deep down you feel the weight of every hidden truth. But let me be honest with you. Every day you wait, the lie grows, the cracks in your relationship, the secrets you suspect but never dare to confront, they don't heal with time. They deepened out. The first victory is not exposing someone else's betrayal. The first real victory is recognizing that you deserve more. You deserve peace. You deserve honesty. You deserve a life that doesn't require you to constantly pretend. So, I'm begging you, talk to someone today. Find someone you trust. Someone who will listen without judgment. Open up about your doubts, your fears, your suspicions. Say the words you've been too afraid to say. I'm not okay. That simple confession could be the beginning of everything changing. Because no one should carry this weight alone. You are not weak for seeking help. You are brave. You are not broken beyond repair. You are just waiting to be free. So, take that step. Start small. A conversation, a message, an appointment with a counselor. But start. Your future self will thank you. And remember, pretending costs you everything, but facing the truth gives you your life back. The first step is yours. Take it here at Confession Stories. We know you are not alone. This is a safe space, a place where your story matters, where your voice is heard, and where your pain is never met with judgment, only understanding. If you've been through something like this, or if you're still in the middle of your fight, share your story in the comments. You might not realize it, but your words could be the light someone else desperately needs right now. Together, we transform shame into strength, pain into purpose, and secrets into healing. We are a community that refuses to let anyone feel invisible or broken beyond repair. So take that brave step, right? Connect, be seen, because here you are never alone. We're in this together, always.